Hello and welcome to another edition of the Skycast, the sort of Sky Sports fantasy football version of the FPL Focus Scoutcaster. Today we're looking ahead to game week 23, which thankfully only involves one long weekend's worth of games rather than the usual couple of weeks we've been used to recently. My name is Joe and joining me is Luke. Luke, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. Bit of man flu over the last couple of days. I'm just coming out the back of it, so I'm soldiering through, but we'll manage.
We'll soldier on. We were talking before we came on air that this may be a short one because the overhaul's coming up soon. So the sensible policy is do nothing. But if you are going to do something, make sure it's Liverpool, and that's why we got Van Dijk in the thumbnail for this episode, because it's going to be Liverpool are going to get mentioned quite a few times, I imagine. First of all, let's have a look at the fixtures that are taking place. We've got 3 days worth. We've got fixtures on Friday, Sheffield United against West Ham, and then pretty much everything else on the Saturday. Loads of stuff on Saturday. Some interesting ones. Obviously Leicester, I think Vardy against Southampton that day, which should be quite good. Rashford against for Manchester United against Norwich, and then we move into Sunday and we're looking at Villa, City, Bournemouth, Watford. So it's probably KDB or another Man City asset. But yeah, what about you? You've got 3 sets of captains. Who are your captains for that time?
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward one this week, isn't it? Sheffield United, West Ham. I think if you don't have anyone at this stage, then it probably can be ignored. That's my current thought process on that anyway. I happen to have Henderson and Baldock, so I'll be captaining a Sheffield United player there. Won't be expecting too much, you never know, but their defence has been a bit not quite up to the standard of early season. Obviously West Ham maybe potentially on a bit of a revival, so we'll see what happens there. But Saturday, it's going to be Vardy or Rashford, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they're the standout picks there. There's obviously Chelsea at home to Burnley and Everton at home to Brighton. So there are some alternatives, but it just seems that Vardy, given I know he played the other day, but he's basically had almost a 2-week rest before that. Looks the standout player, I would say. Even Southampton have been good though of late. Does that worry you at all?
It does, and I've actually got my captain that day on Salah at the moment, because I'm going for something slightly different. Salah in the Sky game is not as well owned, and same in the FPL game as well. It's not as well owned as perhaps he should be. It's just one of those unusual, slightly different picks. I'm not fully convinced, as you said about Vardy coming back from injury. Didn't score against Villa in the Cup, made an assist. There's points there for him, but I just wonder if, given Spurs' poor defensive form, whether Salah and Mane could do well and prosper. So I'm thinking about that. So, but yeah, I mean, I'll probably chicken out and go for Vardy.
I do like that. It's the 5:30 game as well, so you get that extra. You know, it just feels better when you've got your captain still to come.
Convinced he'll play. I have a goals imminent table. Those that follow the Scoutcast will know, and Salah's on it. Basically, he's due a goal, perhaps more. Hopefully, I'm going for Henderson for me for that the Sheffield United West Ham clash on the Friday. As we said, Saturday still undecided, and on the Sunday it's got to be De Bruyne, isn't it?
I don't think anyone will have probably any other players really. Potentially Grealish, but I don't think you're going to captain him against Man City. It's going to be De Bruyne for, I would expect, about 90% of the game, to be honest.
Okay, we're gonna rattle through this episode because we're at the bonus bit already. So let's just have a look at some of the bonus stars at the moment. So this is from the members area, Fantasy Football Scout, just sort of a snapshot over the last few games, who's doing well in the bonus. It's Liverpool. Liverpool are dominating there, I think. I mean, maybe I'm just looking for Liverpool. But this is for the last 4 matches. Van Dijk, Jordan Henderson. This is last 4 matches. So Matip could return soon, and he is in there because the last matches he played, he got bonus. Then we're looking at Gomez as well. And I know a lot of people are looking at Gomez. That could be an option, and other ones intriguing. Fernandinho is there. Quite as a Sky player of a number of seasons, I quite like seeing Fernandinho there. He's one of those reliable bonus hoggers. Dubravka doing okay for Newcastle. And De Bruyne there still. But any what do you take from that? The current bonus stars.
Well, it looks like what we thought the start of the season would be for Liverpool is happening. Essentially, a repeat of last season,
Yeah.
where they were getting bonus in every game they were playing. The defenders, they were obviously getting the clean sheets as well, and they were just ridiculous. Van Dijk ended up being the highest scoring player in the game. He's had a slow start to this season, but Van Dijk in particular, I'll just read you off his last
Yeah.
7 point totals: 10, 10, 10, 10, 10,
Okay.
1, then 18. So basically, he's averaged pretty much bang on 10 points for 7 games in a row now. And he's actually crept up. He's on 138 points overall, which is only about 20 points off of the top scorer in the game, I think is Vardy. So it's looking ominous that if Liverpool can start keeping the bonus, the passing going on and the clean sheets, that Van Dijk will end up the game's highest scorer again. So
Yeah.
it's get them in, and
Well,
obviously with the overhaul giving the extra games, it's a good time to do it soon.
when we come in a bit talking about our teams, I may make another transfer, and it's going to be Van Dijk. By the looks of it, he's top of the list, has to be at the moment. But we've got some questions from the community. Some of them involve the overhaul. Now, just remind listeners and viewers, the overhaul. There was an announcement around the overhaul because we've got that essentially an extra game being slotted in that blank game week, which was Liverpool and against West Ham. That game has been moved, so we have that, and it's in a game week all of its own. How, if anything, does the change in the overhaul affect things? And when is the overhaul now? Just remind people.
Right, so the overhaul's essentially been pushed back a week. So I think it starts after Sunday, the 2nd of February's games finish, and goes on for a week now rather than 2 weeks. Sky obviously in a bit of a tricky situation because, like you say, that game was just put straight in the middle of their overhaul. But as a result, we've now obviously got that extra Liverpool game versus West Ham in the middle of it, and then we've got an extra weekend of fixtures as well to navigate. Whereas most of our planning up to this point was obviously for the original date.
Yeah.
So it has thrown a bit of a spanner in the works, to be honest with you. I mean, go back a few weeks, lots of us removed Liverpool players to get a 4-for-1 with Spurs.
Yeah.
With the one game being Liverpool when they played Leicester. Now, as it turns out, Trent Alexander-Arnold went on an absolute mad one on that game, and Spurs have largely been very disappointing over the majority of those games. So I took out, for example, 2 or 3 Liverpool players for Spurs players, and now it looks like I'm going to have to get Liverpool players back because they've got those extra games. So it's essentially cost me in the region of around 6 or 7 transfers overall with little games. Whereas if we knew that information beforehand, I would have just held Liverpool.
It's depressing, isn't it? I mean, I did exactly the same thing, and I look back and I think of the transfers I have made very recently, and I'm just correcting transfers I made a couple of weeks ago, and I just think, God, if I'd have just... So I got Mane in last time out, which was well worth it because he surprisingly got the man of the match.
That was a surprise.
But that was a surprise. But it's really annoying because I got rid of him 2 weeks ago for Harry Kane, who then got injured. So
indeed, but what can we do? I mean, it's a tricky situation for Sky. The game was put in. To add to this, by the way, there is a small chance, according to Ben Crellin and the likes of people like that who do the fixtures, that there could be a game rescheduled for the middle of the new overhaul. So if that happens,
what?
I don't know what they're going to do. So between Sunday the 2nd of February and Saturday the 8th of February, which is when the overhaul is, I think there is a certain percentage chance that they could chuck a game in between there.
What can they do? I suppose they could just make it a free one.
Yeah, I think they'd have to at this point, right? Because if you keep putting it back all the way, it just has such an effect on transfers. I wouldn't be surprised if, like you said, it would be either they'll cut it down to 3 days, or they'll literally have a week where we can pick 11 players from those 2 teams and then move on or something.
Oh, but what a magic free-for-all that would be. We've had some questions. Some take in that overhaul, but some also mention about Liverpool. Mark Dorney says that he's got a very similar challenge that I'm facing as well. He has 18 transfers left. That's exactly what I've got as well. He has 2 Liverpool players and he wants 2 more, but it obviously is going to cost him transfers. Is it worth it pre-overhaul? And we also had, so Hornet also mentioned about the new overhaul date, whether it had changed things. But so is it worth spending transfers on Liverpool players pre-overhaul, or just let it be.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those questions we're only going to really know at the end of the season. Because we just don't know how things are going to go towards the back end with rescheduled games. How many, individual days are we going to get where we need captains? Are Liverpool going to have won the league, and therefore you need to take out all their players because they're still in the Champions League? There's so many unknown factors to that. So my stance is we can't really control any of that. So I would say go for the points when they're in front of you. And considering Liverpool are in such good form at the moment, they have those extra games. I think you can only play what's directly in front of your nose. So my advice would be to use those transfers, get the Liverpool players in, because I mean last week alone, if you had I think Dan Cox, who's obviously very good at the game, he's won it before, he filled up his B team with about 7 or 8 Liverpool players.
Okay.
And he ended up getting something ridiculous like 70 points from them, just from not even a massive win. They only won 2-0 to Sheffield United, but he just cleaned up. He's got 4 or 5 defenders, everything. So my advice would be just to use them and worry about it later, because we can't control the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, I went into sort of this time of year. I had 20 transfers, and I thought I'm going to have 20 transfers for pre-overhaul. Come out of the other side of that, 20 in tax, and I can really go for it. And then that Liverpool announcement came, and then I just suddenly, and then obviously Spurs being atrocious is another factor as well. So I found myself, we'll come to our teams shortly, but I found myself very quickly getting Mane and Alexander-Arnold back in and using two transfers there, and I'm looking to use another one. So my answer to Mark's one is I think it is worth it, depending on how many transfers you've got left. If you've got more than 15, just do it. If you've got more than 20, definitely do it. 20, 25 transfers.
100%.
Yeah, just go for it. Just start loading up. If you've got less than 10 or maybe 11 or 12 transfers left, I'd maybe caution. But as you said, I think if Van Dijk, for example, is averaging 10 points a game, how many games he's got left before overhaul?
Is it 5? I think it's 5.
Okay.
I think it might be 5.
So, and if you're in my case, it'd be trading it for someone like Dele Alli, who might get me 10 points over his pre-overhaul in total, for someone who could get me 40, 50 points. That's an easy move, I think. And I think it depends how much you think a transfer is worth. But if you're going to get 30 or 40 points from that transfer, in a space of a month extra, well, do it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if Van Dijk, I mean, I'd like to say he's not going to get 50, but he could quite easily, considering how it's going. So if that one transfer's 50, and obviously you have to take into account the points that your player that you took out would have got. So let's say it's somewhere between 30 and 50 as a gain. I think that's a pretty good number on a transfer, considering people will happily use that on a single game day and then hope that they do really well on that day. You're throwing all your eggs into that one game where you need him to get 2 goals or whatever, and it's obviously a lot less odds, I would say, than spreading it over 5 games where we've got a proven history of Van Dijk doing extremely well. So I think you've got a very consistent 30 to 50 points to come there from Van Dijk, whereas on an individual day it can be anything from 0 to 50. So I would prefer the approach of taking the more games. So I would say use them.
We got a question from Kieran on the same theme. Should we pack our team with pool players, maybe 7 or 8? Well, you mentioned there that Dan Cox, the winner in his B team, did that. So it is a viable option, but obviously depending on transfers, I would imagine. Tim Barry asks, Callum Wilson, is it time to gamble on him? Is it for a time to gamble on? I'm going to just say no. I'm just saying Liverpool. Just go mad on Liverpool or do nothing.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about Callum Wilson. What do you think?
I mean, that's odds akin to the national lottery at the moment, isn't it? I mean, I'm all for a gamble, but my God, I mean, the games are great. Don't get me wrong; they've got 4 really good games, but they're just doing absolutely nothing, Bournemouth. So, madder things have happened in football, and obviously it could happen, but it just seems out there to put it basically. Well, the only other one I thought maybe might be worth a look as a differential potentially, and it's more for the people who are stacked with transfers, is to look at Sidibe from Everton. They have got 4 pretty good games before overhaul. He's quite cheap. I think he's 7.7 or something like that. Relatively cheap. Obviously, he's been playing occasionally as a right wing back or even a right winger. But more importantly, ever since he came into the team, I think he's only blanked 3 times, or it may be 4, once against Brighton actually, but the other 3 times were against like Man United, Liverpool, and Spurs. Apart from that, he's always returned either tackles, assists, clean sheet. So he's got quite a few strings to his bow. So he might be one to look at if you're stacked. I'd still prefer probably not to do anything.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I did have a thought about a Watford midfielder, perhaps for those like me of say Ali, they want to ditch or they can move on a player like Aurier. I think Sarr looks pretty good value. He's about 6.5 now, is he? 6.2,
Yeah.
6.5. And I like the look of him. And obviously, depending on where you've got a slot going, I do think some of the likes of Delafeu or Troy Deeney these. I'm talking probably for your B team here, but I think some of the Watford players could be the ones to go for it.
Very much so. And then I think more than anything, we're gathering information here for what we want our overhaul team to be like. And the likes of Sarr, if he continues this, is obviously throwing his name in the hat there for one of our budget enablers. Because I imagine if Liverpool have kept 4 or 5 clean sheets up to overhaul, you're going to see overhaul teams just containing Alisson, Van Dijk, Trent, Robertson, Gomez even. Then you're going to have Salah, Mane. They're going to be Liverpool heavy, so you're going to need some cheap players in and around it. I guess we'll discuss that more as we get closer to the overhaul, because there's also those of us who are on a lot less transfers may not want to pick players all from one team, because obviously we need a bit of a spread, whereas those with a lot left have the benefit of being able to react to the games later on. And therefore can stack Liverpool.
I mean, also, just thinking ahead to that overhaul time, a lot of us in our teams, we have a structure that has someone like Gilbert or Dan Burn, who's now injured. So you're looking at that 4.5 slot. And I think going into the overhaul, I'm going to spend a little bit more. I think my cheapest player, I want to be about 6, 5.8, something like that. And I might be looking in midfield there. I've as with in my B team with Dan Burn getting injured, I found myself a little bit. I can't really move him on. There's no room there. So
there's a few players around that price. So like you said, you got Sarr, you got Lundstrom, you got like the likes of Baldock, you've got Cantwell who's still doing well. They're all around that sort of price. So at least you've got options, like you say. So you might want to have one player around that slot, but it's a long way down the line.
It's down. So let's have a look at your team at the moment. So you got Henderson, Alexander-Arnold, Pereira, Sionju, Baldock, who's your captain for the next game. You got De Bruyne, Richarlison, Maddison, and up front Vardy, Rashford, and Mane. I noticed you've just overtaken me in the leaderboard. I saw in one of the leagues. You're now is it 3,500 or so?
I'm 2,700.
Okay, yes. So that's me. I'm just over 3,000. So you've overtaken me.
Yeah, I think I've spanked a load of transfers though. That's the problem.
Yeah, how many transfers you got left then?
I'm on 15, which is the number I wanted going after overhaul. That's what I had in my mind. However, if you look at obviously my team's up there now, I've only got 2 Liverpool in it, so I'm in that tricky situation where I've just advised everyone to get Liverpool players in, but my transfers are low, so I still think I'm going to do it. My move is probably going to be Rashford after his couple of games against Norwich and Burnley, I think it is, and then Van Dijk will be coming in. So I've got to sit through a couple more Van Dijk games without him, which is going to be painful, and I'll switch to 5-3-2. Apart from that, I'm not sure I'll make another swap. I'll probably just go with the 3 Liverpool, which is probably going to see me drop down the leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, quite looking forward to overhaul really, because it sort of steadies the ship a bit. But we have these tough decisions to go. It's obviously Van Dijk, only one you're looking at there. Now my team's a little different, and I'm going to say a little worse. It's worse in the rankings, and it shows. So I've still got some remnants of the evil Spurs contingent there. So I have got rid of Rashford a little while ago. I got rid of him for Mane. So I was quite pleased about that in the end. I've got rid of likes of Harry Kane gone, Aurier's gone for Alexander-Arnold. I've still got Ali there. I can do Ali to Van Dijk, and I think that's the move I'm going to make. I can't see anything wrong with that. I've got Henderson in goal. He's going to be my captain. Alexander-Arnold, Sionju, Gilbert, Ali, KDB, Maddison, and Grealish, who I was also considering ditching, but no way. He's been fantastic. Superhuman.
That's what I say. Looking at your team, I think once you've done Ali to Van Dijk, I
Yeah.
think you've got a really good team there. You've arguably got the three best
Yeah.
midfielders, which are all of the same mould, really. If you've
Yeah.
noticed in Sky,
Yeah.
it's kind of that playmaking number 10s or something
And
of
up
the like.
front, I've got Vardy, Salah, and Mane. And so where I play
Yeah,
Sky differently to FPL is that I make the move pretty quick and a bit more decisively in this. So Salah, Mane in. They're the two best players who play for the best team in. In FPL, I'm like, oh, I might wait a week, or I might do, But with this guy, it's just like, no, they're in. Don't care if Rashford's playing Norwich. I'm getting rid of him. Mane's in. So I've already done that move. Already made a bit of a profit. But yeah, as I said, Ali to Van Dijk. If I was a bit more maverick, I'd be thinking about Ali to perhaps a punt like Sarr. And in my B team, I've currently still got Dan Burn. But I think with Burn, I think I can make the move to Cantwell, and I'm going to do that in my B team. So my B team is a bit more riskier. I'm going for that there. And I might consider another move. I've got 20 transfers left in that one. I'm about 9,000. So, because there's always the chance that that's the one that I'm going to be left with any transfers by the end. But
yeah. You say how many points is that team on though?
oh, I don't know. I haven't even looked at that. I just looked at, because the B team is. You might be the same with your B team. I kind of look in it and sort of have a bit of fun with it. I look at transfers with it really, because it's the one I sort of think it's my fail-safe team. It's like if I run out of transfers, my A team, at least I've still got something to play with.
Yeah, indeed, exactly the same. But what my point was going to be that there's probably not that much difference between the points between your teams, even though you've got 20 transfers. So you never know. Come end of season, it could end up being your main team.
Yes, it could. Yeah, that has happened many seasons before. The season when I got into the top 100 at the end, or squeaked in at 99th, it was my B team that I took all those maverick moves with early on that did that. 18 transfers left. I'm going to make another one. I'm hopeful I can get into the overhaul on 17. But now that you've said you're on 15, I think, well, maybe if I get into the overhaul at 15, I'll be okay with that. I just wanted to finish off. There is the Sky run their Ultimate 11, which is a free one-off game they do every so often. And you've got no restrictions. You just pick an Ultimate 11 that you think is going to score that well that week. It's free to enter, and it's 50,000 prize. But it's a bit like the lottery, trying to guess the best team. It's going to be an oddball ones. We've all entered the team. Here's my one. I entered. I deliberately took about 2 seconds to do it. I picked some ones that I think everyone's going to pick and are going to do well, like De Bruyne and Vardy. And I also picked some of those other ones like Traore, Jimenez, Willian as well. These and Fabianski. Just pick some ones that might not be well picked, maybe. But anyway, as you can see from there, I've got Fabianski, Van Dijk, Alexander-Arnold, Pereira, Willian, KDB, Maddison, Traore, Vardy, Jimenez and Mane. So that's my ultimate 11. And as you can see, it took about 2 seconds to make. What about you? You've entered an ultimate 11 team, Luke. You're hopeful?
Yeah, done the same. Just threw it together in 5 seconds. It's free chance of 50k. So why not? Hey, have to get pretty lucky to actually win it, obviously, but it adds something. I think it's pretty good. They do it like 3 or 4 times a season, so it's always worth just checking it out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's the first time I've noticed it really, which is partly my fault because it is flagged up pretty big when I look at my team. It says Ultimate 11, Ultimate 11. I just assumed it was something that would cost me loads of money, but it was all free.
Yeah, it's similar to Super 6 in a way, really. You just log in and predict a few results, put it away, and you never know, you might win some money.
So it's a shorter episode. Well, only fractionally shorter than we usually do because basically we're saying do nothing or get Liverpool. That's it. That's the short version. But we are back. We are back again next week. Another game week to come. There's a slightly longer game week that time. So we'll probably have a bit more to discuss there, and maybe some of our thoughts around the overhaul might start to take shape a bit more. But for now, Luke, good luck with the game week.
You too, Joe. I'll see you on the other side.
Goodbye, all.
Bye.